What if I told you that the person you think you are is merely a construct? That from the moment you took your first breath, society began shaping you, telling you what to believe, how to behave, and who you should become. But deep inside, beyond all of those external influences, lies something far greater. The person you were truly born to be. Friedrich Nietzsche believed that most people sleepwalk through life, chained by rules they never questioned, bound by values they never chose. He saw a world where people lived as part of the herd, afraid to step outside the lines, afraid to claim their own power. And he issued a challenge to those bold enough to break free, to rise above the mediocrity that society enforces, and to forge their own destiny. You are more than what you've been told. The life you're living right now, is it one you consciously created or one that was handed to you? If you stripped away every belief instilled in you by others, every fear they planted in your mind, every expectation they placed upon your shoulders, who would you be? Would you recognize yourself? Or would you realize for the first time that you've been wearing a mask? This is the moment you decide. You can stay in the comfort of the familiar, doing what's expected, blending into the crowd. Or you can choose the harder path, the path of self-overcoming, the path of the Übermensch, the one who rises above limitations, who doesn't wait for permission, who doesn't seek approval, but instead becomes their own highest authority. Nietzsche called it the will to power, the force that drives some individuals to go beyond mere survival, beyond acceptance, and to create their own reality. But to do that, you must be willing to dismantle everything that is not truly yours. The thoughts, the beliefs, the fears. You must question them all. Society rewards conformity. It wants you to be predictable, to fit inside a pre-designed mold, to never ask why. You're taught to follow the rules, not to create them. You're given a blueprint for success, a stable job, a respectable reputation, a comfortable existence. But is that truly success? Or is it just the safest way to never truly live? The greatest minds in history did not follow the blueprint. They burned it. They chose uncertainty over comfort, risk over security. They were called crazy before they were called geniuses. They rejected the rules, and in doing so they rewrote them. And that is your challenge. To question what you've been handed, to ask yourself, who am I without these constraints? If you stripped away the expectations of your family, of your culture, of society itself, what remains? The path to becoming who you were born to be is not easy. It requires strength. It demands discomfort. But the alternative? Living a life that was never truly yours. Most people don't want this truth. They'd rather stay asleep. They'd rather convince themselves that their limitations are real, that their fears are justified, that they are simply who they are and that change is impossible. But that's a lie. And deep down you already know it. Look at your life right now. Every decision you've made, every habit you've formed, has it been driven by your own will or by the will of others? The way you speak, the way you think, the way you move through the world. How much of it is truly you? Nietzsche saw that most people choose to live as part of the herd because the herd offers protection. The herd tells you don't stand out, don't challenge authority, don't question the way things are. But the price of that safety is your potential. The more you blend in, the more you silence your own voice, and over time, you forget that you ever had one. But the few, the rare few who are willing to walk alone, who are willing to carve their own path, who are willing to destroy every illusion that was placed in front of them, they become something greater. They rise above the herd. They transcend. That is the Übermensch. Not someone who simply exists, but someone who becomes, someone who understands that meaning is not given, it is created, that values are not handed down, they are forged, that the world does not define them, they define themselves. But with that freedom comes responsibility. There is no one else to blame, no one else to lean on, no one else to tell you what to do. You must be willing to stand on your own. You must be willing to face the discomfort of uncertainty. You must be willing to take radical ownership of your life. Nietzsche said, "Become who you are," a simple phrase, but one that contains everything, because most people never do. They live as shadows of themselves, reflections of what others expect, echoes of someone else's design. But you don't have to. This is not about becoming someone new. This is about returning to the person you were always meant to be. Beneath all the conditioning, beneath all the noise, there is a fire that has never gone out. It may have been dimmed, but it was never extinguished. And now, in this moment, you feel it again, that undeniable pull towards something greater, towards the version of you that was never afraid, that never sought permission, that never needed validation. That version of you is still there, waiting. And the question now is, will you answer the call? The greatest tragedy is not failure, it is never trying at all. It is waking up one day realizing that the life you lived was never truly yours. That every decision you made was shaped by fear, by expectation, by the invisible hands of a society that conditioned you to stay small. But right now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can let this realization pass, ignore it, push it aside and continue as you always have. Or you can decide here and now that you will break free, that you will become something more, that you will become who you were born to be. But first, you must understand why so many never take this path, why most people choose to remain in the comfort of the herd, even as their spirit begs them to rise above it. The truth is, the herd offers safety. When you conform, you don't have to think. You don't have to take responsibility. You don't have to face the terrifying possibility that everything you once believed might have been a lie. Conformity is the easy road, but it is also the road to mediocrity. Society will tell you that this is the right way to live, that success means following the rules, staying in line, keeping your head down, that happiness comes from external approval, from fitting in, from doing what everyone else does. But deep inside, you already know the truth. If happiness was found in obedience, then why do so many who follow the rules feel empty? Why do they drown themselves in distractions, in mindless entertainment, in anything that keeps them from having to sit in silence and ask themselves the one question they fear the most? Is this all there is? Nietzsche saw this deception clearly. He knew that society does not want individuals, it wants followers, people who do not question, people who do not challenge, people who accept what they are given without ever daring to ask if there is something more. But he also knew that within every person there is a force, something powerful, something undeniable, the will to power, the drive to grow, to create, to rise above limitations. And yet for most, that power remains buried beneath years of conditioning, beneath layers of fear, beneath the weight of a world that has convinced them they are small. But you are not small. You never were. The only difference between those who break free and those who remain trapped is a single decision. The decision to stop living according to the expectations of others. The decision to destroy the old version of yourself. The version that was built to be accepted, to be liked, to be safe, and to replace it with something stronger. The path of self-overcoming is not comfortable. It is not easy. But it is the only path that leads to greatness. Because to become who you were born to be, you must be willing to let go of who you were told to be. You must be willing to face discomfort, to endure struggle, to embrace pain as the necessary price of transformation. This world has taught you to avoid pain, to seek pleasure, to numb yourself whenever things get difficult. But Nietzsche understood that suffering is not something to be avoided. It is something to be embraced. He believed that struggle is the forge in which strength is created, that those who refuse to suffer will never grow. Think about your own life. The moments that shaped you, the times when you were forced to dig deep, to push through hardship, to endure things you never thought you could survive. Did they weaken you, or did they make you stronger? Did they break you, or did they reveal something inside you that you never knew was there? Now imagine who you would become if you stopped running from pain, if instead of avoiding struggle you embraced it, if instead of seeking comfort you sought challenge, if instead of fearing failure you pursued greatness with everything you had, no matter the cost. Most people will never do this. They will continue to play it safe, to live within the limits imposed upon them, to never take the risk of becoming more than they are. And because of this they will never know what they could have been. But you have a choice. You can choose to suffer for something meaningful, or you can choose to suffer for nothing at all. Because no matter what path you take, there will be suffering. The question is, will your suffering have a purpose? Will it shape you? Will it elevate you? Or will it simply drain you, leave you empty, and steal from you the life you were meant to live? The answer to that question depends on a single thing: your willingness to take responsibility, to own every aspect of your life, to stop blaming your circumstances, your past, your parents, your environment, to stop making excuses for why you are not yet who you want to be. There is no one else to blame, no one else to fix it, no one else to save you. The moment you accept this is the moment you take back your power, because the instant you stop waiting for permission, you realize you never needed it. The instant you stop asking for validation, you understand that your worth was never something to be determined by others. The instant you stop wishing for an easier path, you discovered that the strength to walk the hardest one was always inside you. Nietzsche's philosophy is not for the weak. It is not for those who seek comfort over truth. It is not for those who want an easy life. It is for those who are willing to look at themselves honestly, to confront the lies they have been living, and to burn away everything that is not real. It is for those who refuse to settle, who refuse to accept the script they have been handed, who refuse to die with their potential still locked inside them. There is a reason you feel the way you do, a reason you know deep down that you were meant for more. That fire inside you, the one that has been dimmed but never extinguished, it is calling you. It is waiting for you to finally listen. And when you do, you will realize something. The life you want is not out of reach. It is not impossible. It is not reserved for the lucky, the privileged, the chosen few. It is yours. It always has been. The only thing standing between you and the person you were born to be is you. And now, in this moment, the question is simple. Will you rise? Will you break the chains? Will you become something greater? Or will you turn away, tell yourself it's too hard, and return to the comfort of a life that was never truly yours? You already know the answer. You've known it from the beginning. Now, the only thing left to do is act. The truth is, most people will never take this path. They will hear these words, feel the fire rise in them for a moment, and then let it fade. They will go back to their routines, back to their distractions, back to the comfortable prison they've built for themselves. They will say they want change, but they will continue living the same life day after day, waiting for something outside of them to make it happen. But you know better. You know that no one is coming to save you. You know that no external force is going to suddenly hand you the life you were meant to live. You know that the only way out is through the discomfort, through the resistance, through the hard truths you don't want to face. And this is where most people stop. The moment things get difficult, they retreat. The moment they feel pain, they numb themselves. The moment they fail, they tell themselves it was never meant to be. But that is not your fate. That is not who you are. You were not meant to live in fear of struggle. You were not meant to cower in the face of difficulty. You were not meant to live a life dictated by limitations. You were meant to rise, to overcome, to evolve, to become something greater than you were yesterday, every single day, until the day you die. Nietzsche did not believe in waiting for meaning to be given to you. He did not believe in looking to others to define your purpose. He believed in creation. He believed that meaning is something you forge with your own hands, that the greatest power you have is the ability to shape yourself, to mold your own destiny, to become the architect of your own existence. But that power comes with responsibility, the responsibility to stop blaming, to stop making excuses, to stop running from the reality that you are exactly where you have chosen to be. Because that is the truth, isn't it? Every choice you have made has led you here. Every time you played it safe, every time you gave in to fear, every time you let someone else decide for you. This is the life those choices have built. But if you have the power to create this life, you have the power to create a different one, a stronger one, a greater one. And that begins with a single decision, the decision to take control, to no longer accept what does not serve you, to no longer tolerate a life that does not set your soul on fire, to no longer let fear dictate your future. This is the moment, right now. The moment you stop waiting, the moment you stop doubting, the moment you realize that the power to become who you were born to be has been in your hands all along. But that power is useless if you do not act. Knowledge alone changes nothing. Realization without action is meaningless. You can watch every motivational video, read every book, listen to every speech, but unless you step forward, unless you take action, unless you are willing to put in the work, nothing will change. And this is where you must ask yourself the hard question. Are you truly ready for this? Because it will not be easy. The world does not reward those who rise above. It resists them. The moment you step outside the herd, you will feel the weight of its judgment. People will try to pull you back down. They will tell you that you have changed, that you should be realistic, that you should just accept things as they are. But that is their fear speaking, not yours. That is their smallness trying to keep you small. That is their refusal to evolve trying to keep you from evolving. And you must not listen. You must not let their limitations become your own. You must be willing to stand alone, to walk your own path, to face the uncertainty of the unknown with nothing but your own conviction to guide you. Because that is what it takes. To become the person you were born to be, you must be willing to leave behind the person you were taught to be, to unlearn everything that is not truly yours, to break free from the chains of expectation, of comfort, of mediocrity. Most will never do this. They will convince themselves they are fine where they are. They will tell themselves that change is for other people. They will justify their inaction with excuses, with distractions, with temporary pleasures that numb the pain of a life unlived. But you are not most people. You feel it, don't you? The knowing, the deep, unshakable awareness that you are meant for more, that you were not born just to exist, but to create, that you were not born just to survive, but to thrive. And now, in this moment, you have a decision to make. Will you answer that call? Will you take the first step? Will you choose to rise? Or will you let this moment pass, return to the life you have always known, and wonder for the rest of your days what could have been? The choice is yours. But understand this, there is no going back. Once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. Once you feel the pull toward something greater, you cannot pretend it isn't there. You can try to ignore it, you can try to silence it, but it will never go away because it is you, the real you, the one who has been waiting, buried beneath layers of doubt, of fear, of conditioning, the one who is ready. So what will you do? Will you rise? Will you embrace the struggle, the uncertainty, the fear, and transform it into strength? Will you choose growth over comfort, purpose over ease, truth over illusion? Or will you let this moment slip through your fingers, one more opportunity lost to hesitation? You already know the answer. You've known it all along. It is time. Time to step forward. Time to take control. Time to become the person you were always meant to be. No more waiting. No more excuses. No more fear. You are ready. Now, act. Think about the moments in your life when you felt truly alive. Not the times you were merely comfortable, not the times you blended in, not the times you followed the rules, but the moments when you felt something awaken inside you. Maybe it was a challenge you overcame, a risk you took, a time when you stood up for something you believed in. Maybe it was when you created something, when you pushed yourself further than you thought possible, when you stepped into a version of yourself that was more powerful than you had ever imagined. Those moments weren't accidents. They were glimpses of who you really are. But how often do you allow yourself to experience them? How often do you silence that voice inside you, the one that urges you to go further, to reach higher, to break free? How many times have you felt the pull towards something greater, only to bury it beneath doubt, beneath hesitation, beneath the endless noise of a world designed to keep you distracted? And why? Why do you keep yourself small? Why do you keep waiting for permission that will never come? Nietzsche believed that most people never rise above the level of the herd because they are afraid. Afraid of failure, afraid of rejection, afraid of what it would mean to truly take responsibility for their own lives. Because the moment you take responsibility, you lose the ability to blame anyone else. You lose the ability to make excuses. You lose the comfort of believing that your circumstances, your past, or the opinions of others are what's holding you back. You are forced to face the truth. that the only thing standing between you and the person you were born to be is you. And that is terrifying, because if you admit that you have always had the power to change, you also have to admit that every time you didn't, it was because you chose not to. You have to admit that the life you are living right now is not the result of fate or luck or external forces. It is the result of every choice you have made up until this point. And if you want something different, you have to make different choices. That is the essence of Nietzsche's philosophy, that there is no preordained meaning, no external source that will hand you your purpose, no higher authority that will tell you who you are supposed to be. You must create it, you must become it, you must take the raw materials of your existence, your pain, your struggles, your triumphs, your desires, and forge them into something extraordinary. But that kind of transformation requires sacrifice. It requires you to let go of who you were so you can become who you are meant to be. It requires you to break the patterns that have kept you trapped, to step outside the comfortable habits that have lulled you into complacency, to destroy the version of yourself that was built to fit in. And that is not easy, that is not painless, that is not something you can do halfway, because once you begin this path, there is no turning back. The world will look different. The things you once accepted will seem unbearable. The lies you once believed will become impossible to ignore, and you will see, perhaps for the first time, that you were never meant to live in the shadows. You were never meant to merely exist. You were meant to create, to conquer, to transcend. The greatest minds in history understood this. They did not ask for permission. They did not wait for the right moment. They did not allow the opinions of others to dictate their path. They stepped forward, alone if necessary, and they built something greater than themselves. And now it is your turn. Because whether you realize it or not, your life is happening right now. This moment, this breath, this decision, this is your life. Not tomorrow, not next year, not someday, right now. And every second that passes is a second that will never return. Every moment that you hesitate is a moment lost forever. Every day that you wait is a day that could have been spent becoming the person you were born to be. And one day you will run out of time. One day you will look back and see exactly how you spent your life. And the question is, will you be proud of what you see? Will you know without a doubt that you gave everything? That you pushed yourself beyond your limits? That you refused to settle? Or will you look back with regret, knowing that you had the chance to rise, but you chose to stay where it was safe? Because that is the real danger. Not failure, not struggle, not pain. The real danger is reaching the end of your life and realizing that you never truly lived, that you let fear dictate your choices, that you let comfort keep you small, that you let the opinions of others shape a life that was never yours to begin with, that you could have been something more but you chose not to be. But that is not your fate. That is not why you are here. You feel it, don't you? The fire inside you? The part of you that knows there is more. The part of you that refuses to accept a life of mediocrity. The part of you that is ready to break free. So do it. Stop waiting, stop hesitating, stop telling yourself that you need more time, that you need more certainty, that you need more approval. None of that is coming. The only thing that is coming is the next moment, the next decision, the next chance to act. And if you do not take it, it will pass. Just like the last one, just like all the ones before it. But if you do take it, if you step forward, if you embrace the struggle, if you choose to rise, you will discover something incredible. You will discover that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. You will discover that the fears that once controlled you were illusions. You will discover that the only limits that ever existed were the ones you accepted. And once you see that, once you truly understand that you have always had the power to shape your own life, you will never be the same. You will never again allow yourself to be small. You will never again accept a life that does not set your soul on fire. Because you are not here to live in the shadows. You are not here to follow the path that was laid out for you. You are here to create your own path, to build your own destiny, to become the person you were born to be. And now in this moment, there is only one question left. Will you rise, or will you let this moment slip away? The choice is yours. It always has been. There is no more waiting, no more hoping, no more wishing for things to change. If you are still looking for a sign, this is it. If you are still waiting for permission, this is it. If you are still searching for proof that you are capable, look in the mirror. Because everything you need is already inside you. It has always been inside you. You were not born to remain in chains. You were not born to live a life of hesitation. You were born to rise, to evolve, to create something greater than yourself. But this world is not going to hand it to you. No one is coming to tell you that you are ready. No one is going to knock on your door and say, now is the time. You must decide that for yourself. And when you do, you must understand what it will take, because becoming the person you were born to be is not a passive process. It is not something that happens by chance. It is a battle, a war between the part of you that wants to stay comfortable and the part of you that is ready to break free. And you must be willing to fight. You must be willing to step into discomfort, to face your fears head-on, to do the things you have been avoiding for too long, because if you do not, nothing will change. The same patterns will repeat, the same limitations will remain, the same excuses will keep you trapped exactly where you are. You were meant for more. But to claim that, you must be willing to burn away everything that is not truly you. Every lie you have been told, every belief that has kept you small, every habit that has held you back. You must be willing to step into the fire, to allow it to strip away the weakness, the doubt, the fear, until all that remains is the strongest, most powerful version of yourself. And that process is not easy. It will break you before it builds you. It will demand everything from you. It will force you to confront the darkest parts of yourself, the truths you have ignored, the pain you have buried. But it is in that confrontation that transformation happens. It is in that struggle that you will find your power. It is in that fire that you will become unstoppable. Because the moment you stop fearing struggle, you become dangerous. The moment you stop running from difficulty, you become powerful. The moment you embrace the fact that pain is not your enemy but your teacher, you unlock a version of yourself that cannot be broken. Nietzsche knew this. He understood that most people lived their lives avoiding pain, avoiding challenge, avoiding anything that makes them uncomfortable. But in doing so, they avoid growth. They avoid greatness. They avoid becoming who they were meant to be. Because comfort is the enemy of progress. The easy road leads nowhere. The safe path leads to stagnation. If you want something more, you must be willing to do what others will not. You must be willing to suffer, to struggle, to endure. Not because you enjoy it, but because you understand that it is necessary. And when you do, you will realize something incredible. That the things you once feared no longer have power over you. That the obstacles you once saw as impossible are simply steps on your path. That the limits you once believed in were nothing more than illusions. And that is when you will know that you are no longer the same, that you have risen above, that you have stepped into something greater. And once you have, you can never go back. Because once you see what you are truly capable of, once you experience the strength that has been inside you all along, the idea of living any other way becomes unbearable. The idea of settling, of accepting less than you deserve, of allowing fear to dictate your choices, it becomes impossible. Because you know what it feels like to stand in your power. You know what it feels like to look fear in the eye and move forward anyway. You know what it feels like to wake up every day knowing that you are in control, that you are the architect of your own destiny, that no one, no system, no circumstance, no past mistake has the power to stop you. That is what it means to be truly free. Not to live without struggle, but to no longer be controlled by it. Not to avoid pain, but to understand that it is the price of becoming something greater. Not to seek approval, but to know, deep in your soul, that you are enough, exactly as you are. And when you reach that place, you will understand why so few ever do. Because most people are not willing to endure what it takes to get there. Most people would rather stay in the illusion of safety than face the unknown. Most people would rather live small than risk failure. But you are not most people. You would not still be listening if you were. You would not feel this fire inside you if you were. You would not hear these words and know deep down that they were meant for you if you were. So now, the only thing left is action. The only thing left is for you to take the first step. To commit fully, completely, without hesitation, to stop waiting, to stop questioning, to stop asking if you are ready, because you will never feel ready. You will never feel certain. You will never feel like the perfect moment has arrived. And that is why you must act now, because if you don't, you never will. If you let hesitation win, it will keep winning. If you allow fear to control you today, it will control you tomorrow, and the day after that, and every day until you wake up and realize that your life is over and you never truly lived. That is the real fear. Not failure, not pain, not struggle, but the regret of knowing that you had a chance to rise and you chose not to. The regret of knowing that you had the power to become something more and you let it slip away. But that is not your story. That is not how this ends. Because you are here, because you have heard these words, because something inside you is screaming that this is your time. So take the step, break the chains, burn the old version of yourself to the ground and rise from the ashes as something greater. Become who you were born to be. No more waiting, no more excuses, no more fear. The time is now. And the only person who can make this happen is you. Everything you desire, everything you dream of becoming, everything you know deep down is possible. It all begins with a single moment, a single decision, not tomorrow, not someday, now. The version of you that is powerful beyond measure, the version of you that refuses to settle, that refuses to be limited, that refuses to let fear decide what is possible, that version is waiting for you to stop hesitating, waiting for you to stop second-guessing, waiting for you to finally step forward and claim the life you were meant to live. And yet, how often have you stopped yourself? How many times have you let that doubt creep in, whispering that you're not ready, that it's too risky, that it's easier to wait, to postpone, to stay exactly where you are? How many times have you let that hesitation win? Look back at your life. Look at all the times you could have taken action but didn't. Look at all the chances you let slip away, not because you weren't capable, not because you weren't worthy, but because you chose comfort over challenge, because you chose certainty over growth, because you chose to listen to the voice of fear instead of the voice of power. But that ends now. No more waiting, no more wishing, no more delaying the life that is meant to be yours. Every second that passes is a second you will never get back. Every day you hesitate is a day wasted. Every excuse you make is just another brick in the wall between you and the person you were born to be. But you have the power to tear that wall down. You have the power to step through. You have the power to transform yourself into something unstoppable. But power means nothing if you do not use it. Potential means nothing if you do not act. You are not a tree rooted in place, incapable of change. You are not bound by your past, by your circumstances, by the expectations that others have placed upon you. You are movement, you are energy, you are force, you are will, and you have everything you need to step into your greatness right now. You are not missing anything. You are not waiting on some magical moment when everything will suddenly align. You are not unprepared. That is just fear trying to keep you small. That is just resistance trying to hold you back. But resistance is a lie. It will tell you that you have time, that you can do it later, that you can wait until you feel more confident. But confidence does not come from waiting. Confidence comes from action. You will never feel ready, because readiness is something you create, not something you find. And that is why you must move forward now. Not when it's convenient, not when it's easy. Now. Because the version of you that you dream of becoming, the one who is fearless, the one who does not hesitate, the one who wakes up every day with clarity, with purpose, with the fire of certainty burning inside them, that version of you is not somewhere in the future. That version of you is created in this moment by what you do next. This is not just about making a change. This is about transformation. This is about evolution. This is about taking everything you have been, everything you have experienced, everything you have struggled through, and using it as fuel to become something greater. Because you have been through things that could have broken you. You have faced moments that could have made you give up. You have stood at the edge of despair, of exhaustion, of self-doubt, and yet you are still here. You are still fighting. You are still searching for something more. That is not weakness. That is strength. That is proof that there is something inside you that refuses to be extinguished. But that fire needs fuel, it needs action, it needs you to stop doubting and start doing. The pain you have been through, the struggles you have faced, they are not things to be ashamed of. They are your foundation. They are what will make you unstoppable. Because when you take that pain, when you take that struggle, when you take everything that was meant to break you and turn it into power, you become untouchable. You become the force that no one can stop. That is the truth most people will never understand. That pain is not your enemy. That struggle is not something to be avoided. That difficulty is not a sign that you should quit. It is the opposite. It is the gateway. It is the thing that will shape you, sharpen you, forge you into something stronger than you ever imagined, if you let it. But you have to let it. You have to stop running. You have to stop looking for the easy way, because there is no easy way. There is only the path of growth, the path of challenge, the path that will force you to become more than you are now. And yes, it will be hard. Yes, it will push you to your limits. Yes, there will be days when you will want to give up. But you won't, because that is not who you are. You are not weak. You are not fragile. You are not meant for a life of mediocrity. You are meant for something more. And that means you must rise. You must choose the harder path. You must embrace the struggle, and when you do, when you stop fearing it, when you start using it, you will realize that nothing, absolutely nothing, can stand in your way. The only thing left is for you to take that first step, the step into the unknown, the step into discomfort, the step into the person you have always been meant to become. And yes, it will be terrifying. Yes, it will feel like stepping off the edge of a cliff. But that is the price of transformation. That is what it means to be truly alive. And when you do it, when you take that step, when you commit fully, completely, without hesitation, you will feel something you have never felt before. You will feel freedom. The kind of freedom that most people will never experience. The kind of freedom that comes from knowing that you are no longer held back, that you are no longer waiting, that you are no longer trapped by the limits that once seemed so real. Because those limits were never real. They were only as real as you allowed them to be. But now you see the truth. Now you know what you are capable of. Now you understand that the only thing standing between you and the life you were born to live is the choice to claim it. So claim it right now, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because the only difference between those who rise and those who remain where they are is action. And now, in this moment, you have a choice. Will you take that action? Will you move forward? Will you stop hesitating and finally step into the life that has been waiting for you all along? Because this is it. This is your moment. This is the beginning of everything. No more waiting, no more excuses, no more doubt. Just you. Just the decision you make right now. And the person you were born to be, the person who is unstoppable, the person who is fearless, the person who will never again let fear dictate their life. That person is watching. That person is waiting. So, what will you do? The choice has always been yours. It has never been in the hands of your past. It has never belonged to your circumstances. It has never been controlled by anyone but you. Right now, in this moment, you hold the pen. You decide whether this is the turning point or just another moment you let slip away. You decide whether you will rise or whether you will fall back into the same cycle, the same hesitation, the same quiet resignation that has stolen too many years from too many people. No more waiting, no more hoping that one day the fear will disappear. Fear will always be there. Doubt will always whisper in your ear. Resistance will always try to hold you back. But that is not a sign to stop. That is not a sign to retreat. That is the sign that you are moving in the right direction. That is the sign that you are stepping into something greater. You were not meant for a life of quiet desperation. You were not meant to simply go through the motions, to follow a script that was handed to you without question. You were not meant to settle for anything less than the full force of your potential unleashed upon this world. But for that to happen, you must be willing to burn away everything that is not truly you. You must be willing to destroy the false self, the one that was built to be accepted, to be comfortable, to be safe. Safety will not give you the life you want. Comfort will not shape you into the person you know you were meant to become. Growth does not happen in the absence of struggle. Power does not come from avoiding difficulty. The fire inside you will not be ignited by waiting. It will not be sparked by wishing. It will not rise by chance. It is forged in the moments when you step forward despite the fear. It is built in the moments when you take action, when you refuse to back down, when you push through even when everything inside you is screaming to stop. That is how transformation happens, not by accident, not by luck, not by waiting for the perfect conditions, but by force, by will, by the relentless pursuit of something greater than where you are now, because where you are now is not where you are meant to stay. You know this. You have always known this. That restless feeling inside you, that deep knowing that there is more, that you are capable of more. That is the truth. That is the voice that has been calling you your entire life. But most people silence it. They drown it in distractions, in routine, in meaningless obligations that keep them too busy to think, too busy to question, too busy to ask themselves the only question that truly matters: am I truly living? Or am I just existing? You do not want to exist. You want to live. You want to feel the fire of purpose burning in your veins. You want to wake up every morning knowing that you are walking the path that was meant for you, not the one that was laid out for you by someone else. You want to become the highest, strongest, most unstoppable version of yourself. But wanting is not enough. Wanting does nothing. Wanting without action is just another form of waiting. And waiting is a slow death. If you want to change, if you want to evolve, if you want to become the person you were born to be, then you must decide fully, completely, without hesitation, that you are done waiting, that you are done being afraid, that you are done living according to a story that no longer serves you. That decision is all it takes. One moment, one choice, one step forward, and then another, until you look back and realize that you are no longer the same person who was standing in hesitation, looking for a reason to believe in themselves. You have already become something greater. This is not about motivation. This is not about inspiration. This is about discipline. This is about the choice to act. Not once, not when you feel like it, but every single day. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because difficulty is not the enemy, pain is not the enemy, struggle is not the enemy. These are the very things that will make you. These are the very things that will separate you from those who only dream, who only wish, who only talk about what they could be, instead of becoming it. Most people will never take this path. They will settle, they will shrink, they will spend their lives pretending they don't hear that voice inside them, the one that keeps asking, what if? What if you didn't back down? What if you didn't give up? What if you pushed just a little harder, went just a little further, refused to accept anything less than everything you are capable of? That is the only question that matters, and now you must answer it, not with words, not with thoughts, but with action. Because action is the only thing that will change your life. Action is the only thing that will take you from where you are to where you are meant to be. Action is the only thing that will transform you from someone who hopes into someone who is. No more excuses, no more waiting, no more hoping for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is now, this breath, this second, this decision. Because you already know what needs to be done. You already know who you need to become. The only thing left is for you to do it. The only thing left is for you to rise. And when you do, you will understand something that most people never will. That you were never broken, that you were never weak, that you were never incapable. You were simply waiting to remember what you have always been. And now you remember. Now you know. Now there is nothing left but action. So take the step. Walk the path. Burn away every excuse, every hesitation, every false belief that has ever told you that you are not enough. Because you are enough. You have always been enough. You are stronger than you have ever allowed yourself to believe. You are greater than you have ever dared to see. Now the world will see it too, because the person you were born to be is no longer a dream. That person is real. That person is here. That person is you. No more waiting. No more hesitation. No more fear. The time is now. Rise. Most people live their entire lives waiting. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting for things to feel easier. waiting for permission. And yet they never realize that the waiting itself is the problem, that every second spent hesitating is a second wasted, that every moment spent doubting is a moment that could have been used to move forward. And then, one day, they wake up and realize that their life is not what they wanted it to be, that they spent years trapped in their own mind, building excuses instead of building themselves. But you are not most people. You would not still be here if you were. There is something inside you that refuses to stay asleep, something that knows there is more. That fire, that pull toward something greater. It has always been there. It has whispered to you in the quiet moments, in the moments of frustration, in the moments when you have felt that this cannot be all there is. And that whisper is not something to ignore. It is the truth trying to break through the noise of the world. It is the call to rise. Because the truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the life you want. No one is going to give you permission to be great. The world does not reward potential, it rewards action. It rewards the ones who refuse to wait, who refuse to accept mediocrity, who refuse to let fear dictate their decisions. Fear will always be there, doubt will always creep in, resistance will always try to hold you back. But the people who succeed, the people who rise, the people who transform their lives, are not the ones who never feel fear. They are the ones who feel it and move anyway, who refuse to let it stop them, who understand that fear is just an illusion, a test, a wall that is only there until you decide to break through it. Think about every great achievement in history. Every breakthrough, every revolution, every person who has ever changed the world, they all had one thing in common. They did not wait. They did not ask for permission. They did not let fear decide their future. They stepped forward even when they were afraid. They took action, even when they were uncertain. They moved even when everything inside them told them to stop. And that is what you must do. Right now, in this moment, make the decision that you will no longer wait, that you will no longer live in hesitation, that you will no longer accept a life that does not set your soul on fire. Because every moment of hesitation is a moment you will never get back. Every excuse is another chain keeping you from your potential. Every time you tell yourself not yet, you are choosing to stay small. You are choosing to let fear win. But what if you didn't? What if, instead of hesitating, you acted? What if, instead of waiting for the perfect moment, you created it? What if, instead of asking if you are ready, you decided that you are ready now? That is how everything changes. That is how transformation begins. Not by waiting, not by thinking, not by hoping, but by doing, by moving, by stepping into the unknown with the absolute certainty that no matter what happens, you will figure it out. You will grow. You will become stronger. Because that is the truth. The more you act, the more powerful you become. The more you move forward, the more unstoppable you get. The more you push through, the more you realize that the limits you once believed in were never real. And once you see that, once you truly understand that the only thing that has ever been holding you back is you will never be the same. You will never again let fear stop you. You will never again let doubt control you. You will never again allow hesitation to steal another moment from your life. Because your life is happening right now, not tomorrow, not someday, now. And if you do not take control of it, it will pass you by. If you do not step into your power, it will slip through your fingers. If you do not act, you will wake up one day and realize that you have spent your entire life waiting for a moment that never came. But it does not have to be that way. You have a choice. Right now, to change, to grow, to rise, to become the person you were born to be, to step fully into your strength, into your purpose, into the life that is meant for you. And yes, it will be difficult. Yes, it will require sacrifice. Yes, there will be days when you want to quit, when you want to go back to the comfort of waiting. But you won't. Because you are not like the rest. Because you refuse to settle. Because you know, deep down, that you are capable of more. You know that the struggle is worth it, that every challenge, every failure, every obstacle is just another step on the path to becoming something greater. You know that pain is temporary, but regret lasts forever. and you know that the only way to truly live is to step into the fire, to embrace the discomfort, to push past every limitation that has ever held you back. So what will you do? Will you rise? Will you act? Will you take the first step, and then the next, and then the next, until one day you look back and realize that you are no longer the person you used to be, that you have become stronger, that you have become fearless, that you have become the person you were always meant to be? Or will you let this moment slip away? Will you let hesitation win? Will you let another day pass without taking action? The choice is yours. It has always been yours. And in this moment there is no one else to decide, no one else to act, no one else to take the step for you, only now. So rise, move, become, because the world is waiting for you to step into your power, and the only thing left to do is answer the call. Have you ever felt like you were meant for something greater? Like deep down, beneath all the noise, all the expectations, all the doubts, there is a version of you that is unstoppable, a version of you that refuses to be held back, that refuses to accept mediocrity, that refuses to let fear dictate what is possible. If you have ever felt that pull, that undeniable force inside you screaming that you are more than this, then listen carefully, because what you are feeling is not a fantasy, it is not a dream, it is the truth that has been buried beneath years of conditioning, beneath layers of fear, beneath a world that has tried to convince you to stay small. But that version of you, the one that is fearless, the one that is limitless, the one that was born to rise, it is real, and it is waiting. Right now, in this moment, you stand at a crossroads. Two paths stretch out before you. One is the path you have always known, the path of hesitation, of safety, of doing what is expected, the path that keeps you exactly where you are, the path of waiting. The other path is uncertain. It is difficult. It is filled with challenges that will test you, break you, force you to confront every fear, every weakness, every excuse. But it is also the path of power, the path of transformation, the path of becoming. And the only thing standing between you and that path is a single choice, a single decision. Most people will never take that step. Most people will live their entire lives on the first path, convincing themselves that one day they will be ready, that one day the fear will disappear, that one day the perfect moment will arrive. But that moment never comes, because waiting is a lie, readiness is a lie. The only way to become ready is to begin. The only way to conquer fear is to move through it. The only way to rise is to act. So what will you do? Will you let another day pass in hesitation? Will you let another year slip away, filled with the same doubts, the same excuses, the same quiet regret? Or will you take the step? Will you claim the life that is meant for you? Will you become the person you were born to be? Because once you do, you will never look back. Once you see what you are capable of, once you feel what it is like to live without hesitation, without limits, without fear, you will never again accept anything less. You will never again settle for a life that does not set your soul on fire. You will never again allow doubt to control you. You will become the force that cannot be stopped, the mind that cannot be swayed, the soul that cannot be broken. Because once you take that first step, once you commit, truly commit, there is no turning back. The old version of you will cease to exist. The version of you that hesitated, that doubted, that questioned if they were good enough, that version will be gone, and in its place will stand something new, something powerful, something undeniable. And that is when you will understand why you were never meant to stay small, why you were never meant to live in the shadows, why you have always felt that pull toward something greater. Because you were born for this. You were born to rise. You were born to become something extraordinary. No more waiting, no more excuses, no more hesitation. It is time to step into your power, time to burn away every limitation that has ever held you back, time to claim the life that is meant for you, because you are ready. You have always been ready. The only thing left to do is act. Rise,